Now, Jack, in football, you know that we love debates. Now, the Ronaldo Messi debate has been going on for God knows how long. People are trying to introduce this whole Haaland and Mbappe debate, but we don't really think that's a debate. Well, it's Jack's Haaland, Mbappe, so technically it is kind of a
Let's
debate.
let them do their thing for like
Yeah.
another 5 years, and then maybe we can start talking about that. Because James, the Ronaldo Messi thing, just very quickly, what were they the kings of? Consistency, right? So we need to see that from these guys when we start having those conversations.
Now, the reason why we get into these debates here because there's another debate that is slowly but surely creeping up, and this is more of a Twitter beef. It's Arsenal fans versus City fans, and like the debate I'm talking about is Saka versus Foden. This thing's been going back and forth, and it hasn't just been this season before that, and the season before that. Who's been better? Some days Saka, the other days Foden. But Jack Foden just dropped an absolute masterclass against Manchester United in the Chester derby, scoring two goals, bringing City all the way back and helping them win. Yeah, against Manchester United 3-1. The first goal, absolutely incredible, just cutting inside and smashing it into the top corner. Second one, plays the 1-2. Alvarez goes across Onana, and it looks like right now offensively he is leading Manchester City, and that's massive, massive for a player that has been questioning with all the stuff that Phil Foden is doing this year, and also what Saka's been doing consistently. This debate is like depends what you want. Because before Jack, I was simply like, it's Saka.
Yeah.
It
Well,
got
I
me
mean, you've
thinking
got
now. It really got me thinking now. But Jack, how do you feel about this whole thing?
Well, first of all, I'm like, what really excites me about this is it's close. Like, I think you're absolutely crazy if you're Saka easy or Foden easy. I think you're absolutely insane if you feel really strongly one way or the other. Because the way I see it, these guys are very, very close. Just my general overall things, and again, not to overly repeat myself, but the Foden thing I think is real. I think he operates very, very well in this Man City team, which he plays in, right? This Man City system, Pep Guardiola, I think he gets the benefit of playing in this absolutely fantastic football team where he can like really showcase his skills. I don't know if Phil Foden is as effective when he's removed from that situation. Now, you could argue that's probably the case for any player who plays in that kind of setup. In any good team, you're going to get the rub of having good players around you. Probably when he hangs up his tie, the greatest manager of all time, if he's not already there in Pep Guardiola. So yeah, those are things that I take away from Phil Foden when I'm evaluating him and looking at him. I'd love to see him have these kinds of performances for England, for example. That would be really cool if he could come up with a brace in a really really big knockout game in a World Cup or a Euros. When it comes to Saka, this is the thing I'm really interested to talk to you about. Foden occasionally, when he's playing for City, does things where I go, "Wow!" My jaw hits the floor, and I go, "Wow, that was amazing. That was outside of tactical
Hmm.
innovation. That was just him doing his thing. His shiftiness, his close control, deft touches, all this kind of
In the
thing."
pockets, he's number one to me, Jack.
Yeah, Saka, I'm always very, very underwhelmed by. I never look at him and go, "Superstar. Oh my god, I've never seen that before." Or "Wow, he's lighting the game up." But you can't argue with the results. You can't argue with the consistency. And you can't argue with the fact that he doesn't have the pieces around him that Man City have around them. Arsenal still a good team, but Odegaard is a downgrade on Kevin De Bruyne. Gabriel Jesus is a downgrade on Erling Haaland, right? Ben White is a downgrade on Kyle Walker, but like it's much harder for Saka to do his job for that Arsenal team than it is for Foden to do for the Saka team. So first of all, I've talked for a while. I want to get your response. You're the Arsenal fan. Am I too critical on Saka? Because based on what I've just said, I would lean towards Foden because I do think he has that slight X factor where he can do it. But I don't know, James, if you take him out of that City situation, if he could do it, because I bet you if you take Saka out of Arsenal and you put him in any of the other teams, you're still going to see the results. You're still
Uh,
going to see the performances.
I want to ask another question too, and are they both world class? And we'll get into that one, Jack. We'll get into that argument straight after this. But in terms of you, when I look at both of them, the one thing that I got to give Phil Foden for is that I know you mentioned environments, but we've seen so many players struggle to make it in the Pep Guardiola system. We've seen so many players who just can't hack it. Jack, look at Doku right now. His performances went down. Jack Grealish,
Yeah,
how many times is his performance like that? I haven't seen a consistent. Phil Foden from start to finish this season, from start to now, has been absolutely brilliant for Manchester City. And Jack, at times, he takes the mantle over a player like Kevin De Bruyne. And how many
right.
times have we said that over any Manchester City player? That what he did against Manchester United, Jack, he took the game by the scruff of the neck. That's what a leader of a team does, and he done
Right.
that, Jack. So as much as we can talk about the environment, he's doing, the outstanding thing that the tactics can't really bring out of somebody. He's doing that. You mentioned Saka. Saka isn't the most sexiest player in the world. He isn't.
No,
He doesn't have the Iron Robin cut out, like cut inside and shoot. He does do that a lot, but it's not as sexy. Yeah, his step overs isn't as sexy. When he beats a player, it doesn't. He doesn't make you go, oh. But Jack, as you mentioned, the results say the results. Jack, the results right now. Jack. I'm looking in the Premier League. He has 20 goal contributions in 25 games. That's impressive.
insane.
Listen. That's impressive. When I look at his overall game, Jack, in my opinion, he is underwhelmed this season. And people may say it's due to the fact that teams just kick him and teams double up on him. But that's the point about being an elite level player. He, in my opinion, needs to start adding more of a performance to this, like to me, to his output. Because what happens, let's just say, if the goals run out and the assists run out, there's so many times about watch Saka this year where that has run out, yeah, or like he might get that, but the rest of his performance is terrible.
Yeah,
And that's where probably he needs to step up like his game a bit more and have more of a performance. But Jack, I can't argue once I see what he does. You look at the
that
big
that.
games, Jack. He's scoring in these big games.
And my
He's
my
scoring
point is
important
though,
goals. He's scoring important penalties. Yeah,
but my thing is, I think if you put Saka in City,
yeah.
you get the same kind of return of contributions, maybe even more, because maybe he's even got more opportunities to do that. I think if you put Foden in Arsenal, maybe you get a couple more wow moments, maybe, but I don't think the results are the same as Saka.
But Jack, first of all, it's harder to maintain a level in Manchester City. Yeah, I don't get it
Probably.
twisted. If Saka has a bad game at Arsenal, he's getting killed for it. But
Right,
like at City, it's so relentless. Jack, Phil Foden in every Manchester City player, they're expected to win. They're expected to play well. And if they don't play well, Jack, Jack, how many times have we done videos on Haaland when he hasn't scored? The
right,
expectations is so much more higher for Manchester City because people expect them to win. So that's why I can't just say, oh, if you put Saka in there, Jack, the pressure gets even more from him,
right.
and the way teams set up is a bit more difficult to work with, Jack, because I don't get it twisted. Arsenal, whatever City gets, Arsenal get it, but not to the point of the way City get it. Teams setting
Right,
up so defensive. Like, Jack, if you watch Manchester United today, they barely gave City up like areas to operate. They put 11
right,
men behind the ball and asked them to break them down. In fact, if Ten Hag was about to go on and make it 12 behind the ball, so there
right.
wasn't real space to work with there. Quality was needed to be shown. And I'm not saying Saka hasn't done that, but what Phil Foden done there, I'm like,
And
listen,
again,
it,
scruff of the neck thing, I think you're right. Game by the scruff of the neck, the quality thing. I think I'm probably talking myself into picking Foden here, but I want to repeat that I do think that Saka's consistency, the output, and the fact I think his skill set translates to more teams and to more styles of play than Foden's. Foden has that wow factor, but James, it still bothers me that if he gets removed from that, what does it look like? Because I think I know what I'm going to get from Saka if he plays at Liverpool, if he plays at Man. Do you know what I mean?
do you know the biggest thing, and I mentioned it in the last, we had a Foden Bellingham video, was the personality thing. I think Saka has
Right,
a bit more of a personality on a football field than Foden does. But in recent weeks, Jack, I've been seeing it where Foden is like, I'm gonna step up for Manchester City. And it's like, Jack, if you're doing this for City, if you go into other teams, it technically becomes easier because you mentioned can he slot into so many teams. How many teams does he not get into? I think he gets into majority of teams in the Premier League, probably every team,
I agree.
like in the Premier. He'll find a way. And Jack, I'm watching him on our left hand side. Everything Saka's doing, he's doing it, receiving it,
Yeah,
cutting inside. I'm gonna drift into different pockets of space than Saka does. He's probably doing certain bits to a better standard than Saka, but Saka's numbers are also very, very efficient. Another thing, Jack, I'm going to ask, and I'm going to live here. Now, the way I'm talking, you think I'm probably leading towards Phil Foden, because Jack, what I just seen,
Right.
I'm never, listen, if you show me something, I cannot disagree with you. If you show me
Sure.
something good, and what he showed me was like, come on.
Fair play.
You,
Sure.
you got to listen, you got to give him props. I'm going to back my boy Saka because I look at how he's been able to lead this Arsenal team, and granted, the pressure isn't as much, but where he's brought this team to, and how much like overall like pressure, like as Arsenal fans and like just everybody, even before Odegaard, he was the one bringing up these performances. So I'm gonna back my boy here. But a question I'm gonna ask here, and Jack, we'll finish off there. Are both these players world class? Because we've had this, because it's been going around everywhere. It's Saka world class. It's Phil Foden world class. You know what Rio's been saying. Are they world class, Jack? Let me know.
Well, again, you're probably going to roll your eyes. I'm going to ask you. I'd ask the people listening, what is world class? I think we talked about this at university years ago. For me, world class is you represent the world 11. So you're the best in your position in the world. And I don't think either of them are world class players as it relates to that definition. If you're just using it as kind of just a term, like if we're categorizing players, are they world class? No, I think they're probably whatever the rung just below world class is. But like I've said to you, for me, world class, Jude Bellingham is world class. I'd put that out there and say that Jude Bellingham is world class. I'd say Erling Haaland and Kylian Mbappe are world class, but I think Saka and Foden might just be that one rung
Is
below
Bernardo
for
Silva
me.
world class?
Again, I'm going to say no. I think he just fits. I think he
Okay.
just fits
You know
right
what? You
below.
know what it is, Jack? I appreciate that, because as long as you're consistent with your argument there, I appreciate that. World class to me is hard to find the criteria, because there's
Yeah,
so
right,
many
right.
stuff that going, like
Rodri,
Jack, there's
James,
so many stuff you look at.
Rodri,
Yeah,
Rodri is world class.
you know,
I would say. Right,
I consider somebody who's done it from a long period of time. Granted, his levels dropped a little bit, like Casemiro. I consider him to be a world class player.
right.
I look at Bernardo Silva, as much as Jack, because Jack is the world 11. Maybe I don't know. For me, it's like, it's consistency. It's how you make me feel. There is no definition for world class. I just want to look at
Yeah,
you and think,
it's
okay,
totally
that's a
subjective.
world class player. Is Bukayo Saka and Phil Foden world class? The reason why this has been a question for a lot of people, because it's uncomfortable. It's uncomfortable because when we looked at world class wingers, we looked at Ian Robbins, Frank Ribery's, Gareth
Oh,
Bale's, Neymar's, Jack, the caliber of 2050, caliber of them guys, the guys back in the day. And I feel like we are uncomfortable looking at these players who don't wow us the way them guys did and call them world class. But based on, Jack, where world football is right now, how many left wingers or right wingers are better than these two right now? You have to ask that question.
that's a very good point. I think a lot of players have their performances have fallen off a little bit.
100%.
Um, so I look at again, you know where I'm going with this. I look at Rafael Leao as a prime example. He's picked it up a little bit in recent weeks, but the guy I was looking at last year, I thought was a 100 million euro, 120 million euro Premier League player. This season, we've not seen that. It's fallen off a cliff a little bit. So
Jack,
it's
even
difficult.
Kvaratskhelia, but even then, are they world class? I feel
Right,
like
exactly.
there is such a gray area because of what we've been spoiled with in the past of these
Right.
players. It's hard for us to look at these guys and like consider them, because let's be dead on it. As great as they are, Rafael, I love him. Do they move a needle like an Iron Robin? Iron Robin had the whole of Europe shook with that left foot. Frank
Yeah,
Ribery,
yeah.
you just know whoever he comes against, he's giving it. Gareth Bale, you
The
know
only
who he
guy
is.
I think you'd throw like left wing. I think you obviously Vinicius Junior. I think is probably the
Undoubtable.
candidate.
He's
You
he's the undoubtable world class
yeah,
player.
but and again, James. To be fair, I think we've had to move on from a lot of these players we've romanticized very very quickly. So I look at somebody like Luis Diaz, who I have kind of faith for potentially going forward. Um, yeah, I know. Maybe we'll see. We'll see.
I don't know how
Doku
to
again.
consider him world class. And
I
I'm
know
being
the
honest, Foden and Saka probably outperformed him for
yeah,
maybe, yeah,
but
for the
like
last 2 seasons.
again, so those two guys, I think we're waiting on a couple of these guys to mature,
Hmm.
and actually get a couple. Because again, James, when Doku broke out, it was like, oh my God, look at this guy. I think teams have figured him out, and
Yeah,
he now has to go back to the lab a little bit and try and figure out something that he can do and something that he can rely on. But I think we're waiting for some of these guys to mature because, like you said, those guys week by week, performance by performance, you go, he's the best in the world. No, he's the best in the world. Bale cuts inside for Spurs and scores from 30 yards. You go, no, he's the best in the world, and you kind of figure it out from there. So yeah, but we also have to remember the game's totally changed. The winger now is that inside inverted. You cut in, you play it back to your fullback, you play it to your midfielder. There very rarely now is the byline winger or the either way. You know what I mean?
yeah.
They're not as direct and as attacking now as it was before because James, data and analytics has totally swamped the game. The correct pass to play based on all that stuff is the safe pass to play, and that's how you generate. So that a little bit of life has been sucked out of the game over the last 5 to 10 years.
But guys, listen, Jack. Just first of all, let's go back to the main topic. Jack, when we had the
Foden
Saka versus
by
Foden,
this
Jack
much.
Foden by this much. Because I'm gonna go to the other side and go Saka by this much. But if you listen to my argument, you probably think he's a Foden guy. I'm an Arsenal fan, so I'm
Right,
gonna
me
listen,
too.
but I'm gonna back my boy. And in this world class case, we both kind of sat on the fence here. But if I'm
Yeah.
basing it on world football and where the game is at right now and who are challenging them in their position, Jack, Salah's the one guy you just say easy. You put him over there, but probably they are world class. But it's
But
really
also,
uncomfortable based on what we've had before and what we've been spoiled with before. But guys, let me know.
very quickly,
Go on.
if they perform week on week, like Vinicius Junior performs week on week, maybe we can have a conversation. But at the
And
moment, it's him, and then everybody else
and
follows.
not only that, it's perform and to me, it's to beat the best players because Vinicius made the best in the world look silly. Reece James, Trent Alexander-Arnold Cole, he gave everybody a run for their money. But
Yeah.
guys, let me know, comment down below. Saka, Foden, let us know. This is box to box football, and we'll see you next time.